You're watching Beyond 100 Days with Nifemi Oguntoye. Former military head of state Ibrahim Babangida says he regrets the annulment of the June 12, 1993 presidential election, describing it as the most difficult period of his life. The former head of state said this at the official launch of his memoir, A Journey in Service in Abuja. He described the election as undoubtedly credible, free and fair. But the tragic irony of history remains that his administration, which devised a near-perfect electoral system and conducted a near-perfect election, could not complete the process. The book, which offers insights into key moments in the country's history, also addresses other national controversies, including the 1976 coup attempt that led to the assassination of then head of state, Murtala Mohammed, and the 1986 letter bomb that killed investigative journalist Dele Momodu. Reflecting on his decision to annul the June 12 election, retired General Babangida admitted that if given another chance, he would have handled the situation quite differently. Let's bring in someone who was at the center of it all and who was actively involved in the June 12 struggle. In 1993, my guest resigned to join the Moshood Abiola presidential campaign organization. He was arrested and detained at Alagbo in Lagos after the annulment of the presidential election by General Ibrahim Babangida. Journalist and publisher of Asian International, Dele Momodu, thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Glad to have you come. So let's begin with what seemed a very fascinating scene at the book launch. We saw former adversaries putting their past, behind them and coming together in the spirit of camaraderie. General Gowon's government was overthrown by a coup that involved General IBB and Olusegun Obasanjo himself. President Buhari was also ably represented, had his government overthrown by IBB. What do you make of that spectacle?
Unfortunately, I couldn't make it, though I was invited. I tried everything. I left London yesterday through Ghana. But this morning, I couldn't connect my flight to Lagos. My flight from Lagos to Abuja was also not possible because of certain delays. I would have wished to be there. I planned everything. My team was on ground. So I only watched a bit of it because my flight came very late into Lagos. I saw who is who in Nigeria. Babangida had always been a charmer. He's always been one of the most controversial but very cosmopolitan leader at the same time. It's always been a paradox. And that's why he was nicknamed the evil genius. The man, you can imagine in his 80s, how he was able to pull out that crowd today. He did his bit as president, and we were quite fascinated by his actions and sometimes inactions. But unfortunately, the June 12 killed that legacy.
Indeed.
And I'm sure the subject of the book is to try and see if there is a way he can explain himself to Nigerians and to friends of Nigerians globally, and to make sure that that legacy is not totally eroded. Because he did, he had one of the best teams. If you are looking at a star-studded cabinet, now you can see the way he was reeling out names upon names of people who worked with him, who collaborated with him and everything. But what I'm dying to read is to see what happened exactly. Why was June 12 the best election? Everybody, people are saying, oh, he told us today that Abiola won. No, we knew from the one that Abiola won. Nobody ever contested it.
You did.
But so I cannot wait to read about what happened, and I hope the book will provide answers to that.
Let us begin with some excerpts, because the former vice president reviewed the book and we were able to get some excerpts from it. Although I'm on record to have stated after elections that Abiola may not have won the June 12 elections, upon reflection and a closer examination of all available facts, particularly a detailed election results, which are published as an appendix to this book, there was no doubt MKO Abiola won the June 12 election. He goes ahead to say, looking back now, the June 12 saga was undeniably the most challenging moment of my life, and in certain respects, one of the most painful. If I have to do it all over again, I will do it differently. How do you perceive this acknowledgement of MKO's victory? The big question is also, why did it take him 32 years after he left office? Why now?
Well, we've tried in the past to seek answers to your questions, and the impression we got was that the military can be very stubborn. And when they take actions, they come out full chest, I did it. And so maybe that is why every interview he granted, I watched. Because like I said, he's like a spellbinder. He speaks very eloquent. You can see at his age, he's still very eloquent. But then, he never answered those questions specifically. And also as an insider, I knew that the election took place because certain people, don't forget that IB bid could not have acted alone. Even from the way he reeled out the names today, he was a people's man who consulted widely before taking decisions. And I'm sure there were some people we named principalities at that time who convinced him that, no, Abiola cannot be our president. It happens till today. Some people decide, we call them owners of Nigeria, and they would have decided that, oh, no, Abiola, we cannot hand over to him. And there were people, of course, for selfish interest. He had mentioned one before, that his guys were going to kill both himself and Abiola if he handed over to Abiola. So I believe that the moment they made up their mind, collectively, that they were not going to hand over to Abiola, it became difficult for him alone to build the fall guy. But I think today, he inched closer to accepting that, look, I'm the fall guy. I fumbled. I shouldn't have done it that way. And which is okay. Some of us would accept. Even MK Abiola himself, I can tell you that he wanted their friendship to continue because they had a blossoming friendship at that time. But unfortunately, I don't know why it was so difficult for them to reverse, because they had at least a few days and weeks to reverse that decision, and Nigerians would have applauded and given them a standing ovation, but they missed that chance.
Even in acknowledging MKO's victory, in his speech today, he did say we acted in supreme interest, in supreme national interest, and I'm sure that's what many people want to find out. He went ahead to also say that he has paid a huge part of his debt. Do you think this will, in a way, refine his legacy, you know, following the big fall that happened after, you know, the big perception about what he did in annulling that election?
Well, I would have to read the book to know precisely what he's talking about. But as I said, you must respect his decision. That is his personal decision. And I'm happy that he's living with it. And he's taking full responsibility for that action, which threw Nigeria into total chaos. In fact, I don't think we have recovered from that action till today. Because on that day, on June 12, Nigerians united for once to vote for one man without considering religion or ethnicity or anything. And we missed that opportunity. Today, we are fighting on accounts of religion, of ethnicity, and all whatnot. That Abiola election would have sealed it finally, that we are one. Nigerians, wherever we meet, I just came back today, everywhere I've been, people pay my bills at restaurants, whether they are Igbo, they are Hausa, but when it comes to politics, Nigerian politicians just love to use divide and rule tactics to win elections. That's when everybody will be talking, this one is a Muslim, that one is a Christian. But we're all Nigerians, first and foremost. And Abiola was a true Nigerian, an original Nigerian who was welcomed everywhere in Nigeria and in the world. It's difficult to find such, you know, a man in this generation. They don't manufacture such people every day in heaven.
Interestingly, IBB also took some part of the glory because we make reference to 1993 election as free, fair, and credible. And he says that he led an administration that devised a near-perfect electoral system and conducted the near-perfect election, but could not complete the process.
Yes, but it became imperfect, a near perfect, yes, but it became imperfect with that annulment. Immediately that happened, that killed it. You know, it's like you give birth to your own baby, very beautiful, bouncing baby, and suddenly you just decide to snuff life out of the baby. That's what happened on June 12th. And that's why we are still talking about it. Look at how many years, how many decades it has taken us, you know, to get this far. And I'm telling you, even with this book, I'm sure there will still be many controversies.
Absolutely. We have some insights already. The fact that he's expressed satisfaction with former President Buhari's decision to honor MKO Abiola posthumously and recognize June 12 as Nigeria's Democracy Day. What's your take on that development, and how does it rub off on his legacy?
Well, I mean, what he couldn't do, I believe President Muhammadu Buhari did it. We all thanked him at that time, though we felt it was belated. And also, we felt that he also was playing to the gallery, that he used it for political reasons. You know, in Nigeria, when the witch cries today and the child dies tomorrow, everybody knows what happened. So we're not too sure that Buhari was a great fan of Abiola, but at least he played that game and he played it very well.
We're going to take a short break. When we return, we'll go personal with you, because you were arrested and detained by IBB himself. I want to find out if you've forgiven him. But that'll be right after this break. Stay with us, everyone. Journalist and publisher Ovation International Dele Momodu is my guest on the program this evening. Thank you for staying the course on the program.
Thank you, sir.
So you had your own share of General Ibrahim Babangida following the annulment of that election. Walk us through what happened, and then watching him years after. What sense do you feel, a sense of perhaps now that he has acknowledged you have been absolved, and have you truly forgiven him?
Oh, I forgave him long ago. I'm a Christian. And the Holy Book says you must forgive your enemies, your traducers, 70 times, 7 times. So I followed that injunction in the Bible. I can get angry with people, and almost immediately you see me playing with them. A lot of people have attacked me. Oh, why do you romance your enemies or the enemies of Abiola? But as a disciple of Abiola, I knew that Abiola forgave people easily. Abiola was not a vindictive person, and that's what made him who he was, and that's why he could achieve what he achieved. I follow in his trajectory very religiously. You know, for me, it's interesting that I was in Chief Abiola's house. This must have been end of July 1993. He asked me to come for some documents, and I got there about 2 p.m. But I didn't get to see him until 4 a.m. And the whole house was empty. So by the time he came, he was in a very, very private meeting. Then he came in and said, Dele won. You know, he had a way of calling people by nicknames. He said, Dele won. I'm very sorry. I've been in meetings. I've kept you. And that night, my friend Meyo Akipelu was having his bachelor's eve. Okay. So I missed it. Like I'm playing Tropicana somewhere in Adeni Jones. So Chief came, gave me the documents, which I was supposed to take to Tell magazine to Mr. Kola Wole Ilori. You know, he was living somewhere around Akuojo. So I left. I didn't know what I was carrying. I mean, when you trust someone, he gave me, but apparently those were very hot documents. So I drove to Mayor's bachelor's eve. I got there, they were just finishing the event. But I was in the mood because I'd been sitting down all night waiting for Chief. Then I said, let me go to water parks, you know, where Shina Peters was playing. I got there too. Shina was just finishing. Then I left there, went to night shift to go and see Governor Ken Olumese. And he sat me down and said, hey, let's have sandwiches and some coffee. I didn't know I was being trailed by security people. So eventually, I went to Mr. Kola Ilori's place, delivered what I needed to deliver, then went to my house in Ojodu, somewhere in Adigboduja, where I was staying at the time. And a few minutes after I entered bed, my wife rushed into the bedroom. Hey, Ajani, some people are banging on the door. I said, who's banging on my door? He said, she doesn't know. And as the only man in the house, I came out. And I asked, I said, please, who are you? He said, we're from police headquarters. What have I done? You have to open your door, otherwise we'll break it down. To cut a long story short, that was how I was taken away to Moloney at that time. And then they came back later to search my apartment, and they picked some documents, and they said they were seditious, whatever. So I was in a Alagbon detention camp for over a week before they took me to a magistrate court. But what you must also note is that Babangida, despite everything, people could still negotiate with him. Unlike Abacha that came later, and we had to all run away.
For their life.
For their life, you know. So they were trying to persuade me I should leave Abiola alone. Anybody who knows me knows that I'm a one-way person. If I follow you, I'll follow you just like that. So for me, I forgave him. We've met a couple of times. I'm friends with his family. His wife had always liked me because of the exclusive stories I did about the family when they were in Dodam Barracks.
Okay.
When they were going to have their last baby, you know, in Dodam Barracks, I wrote the exclusives, how she was exercising. And then Aisha, the daughter, you know, is my very good friend. So we chat from time to time, and I'd always advise her, look, all Baba has to do is let him just apologize. Nigerians are not too difficult, you know, when it comes to certain things, but they just want you to come up front with them.
Absolutely.
You know, and which is what I think he was trying to do today.
You have attempted, we'll get back to IBB shortly, but you've attempted to run for presidency twice now. You know, some say that those of you who were active during the June 12 struggle have a sense of entitlement and legitimacy to lead this country. How do you react to that? No,
in my own case, no. I always say that I was badly influenced by the emergence of Barack Obama. We had always complained, all of us complain and lament like the biblical Jeremiah, but we do nothing about it. Oh, means Nigeria is ugly, and you have your own beautiful daughter at home, so why don't you present your own daughter? So that's what led me to it. I don't want my children to ask me in the future, okay, you were busy grumbling, I was writing a weekly column, Pendulum, and why, if I think I'm better? Obama was a young man, younger than me when I came out. He was in his early 40s. I had just turned 50 when I decided to. So it had nothing to do with June 12th. I believed in myself, and I still believe in myself, that I can lead a good country with discipline, with focus, with tenacity, with courage, and especially if you can relate to everybody. If you've studied the story of my life, you see that I did not just follow Abiola. I took a lot of things from him. All right. In terms of networking. And so that's what led to it. Watching
that book launch today, you see a whole generation of leaders, and give it to them. I mean, the former vice president was saying that IBB's class, you know, there were like 2 presidents, 4 governors. I mean, it was first class. But it also brings to mind the question of succession. Do you think that that's a question that Nigeria has answered? Because you look at all of them, the OBJ, the IBB, even the current president, they seem to belong to, you know, the elderly age. Do you think that there's a vibrant, younger generation ready to take the baton?
No, but they were all young when they were in power. If IBB...
But they are still all perhaps calling the shot today.
No, that's even in America, you will see that George Bush, Clinton, Jimmy Carter before he died, and all of them, George Bush, Bush Senior, all of them, they called the shot. That's why they are called the presidential class. They are extraordinary human beings. They are not your regular. To be the president of the biggest black nation on earth is not a joke, you know. So for all of them to call the shot, they will always. You see, because even today, I was watching President Tinubu. We joined forces to fight IBB and to fight Abacha at that time. But today, you will not see him address IBB the way we were addressing them in those days. So that's the way life is. You know, as you mature with age, if you had invited me, let's say, 25 years ago, I'm sure I'll be spitting fire and abusing, and you know, but as you get older, you just have to, the Yoruba say, you know, when you get old, you have to act old, you know. So we're mature people, and we want peace in our country. Even when I disagree with you, I still want peace. Because I know that children of the elites, what I call the privilegencia, their children will never be seen on the streets fighting. It's always the poor people who will get hit by bullets. And for me, I have a conscience. I will not send other people's children to die for me because of power.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm wondering what your thoughts are as to how you think Nigerians should react or respond to IBB's admission and the best way to move forward from this very historic acknowledgement. But just before that, we're joining a live feed on this platform. You can continue to watch this interview on our other platforms for the Yes Energy Leadership Forum. How do you think the reaction should be? How do we move forward from this historic acknowledgement?
Oh, I think Nigerians already moved forward. I mean, you accept what you cannot change. We accepted it. We didn't like it. We didn't forget it, and we're not likely to forget it. But the principal actor coming out to say, hey, I was wrong, that's good enough.
Do you think it has added anything substantially to Abiola's legacy, or it's just a symbolic statement?
No. Abiola's legacy would always be intact. On June 12th, God decided to purify Abiola and to cleanse him of all his sins. Because none of us, we're all mortals, none of us is perfect. But Abiola became a saint. The deification of Abiola happened on that day. And God gave him that chance. It doesn't happen to everyone. It's not everyone that will have that chance while on earth to become a saint. Martyrdom is something very, very special.
Absolutely. It's now 2025, 1993, active in the struggle. Are you seeing signs of progress democratically in Nigeria? Or what are those challenges you think have remained, from 1993 till now?
There are things I would not want to say because of where I am. But I'm worried about our democracy. Very, very worried. And the reason is simple. Democracy should give all of us freedom to run and act sensibly. But a situation where it is winner takes all, and it is absolute power, and in a civilian regime, you begin to see traces and symptoms of dictatorship. It worries me. And that's why I've always appealed, especially to my big brother, the current president, that look, you can fail in everything, sir, but make sure you don't fail to deepen democracy. If they defeat you, they defeat you. If you defeat us, opposition, defeat us. That is my position. It's nothing personal. You see, that's why it's democracy. Look, President Tinubu became an idol to a lot of us because he stood stoutly against dictatorship. Because he stood, even when Obasanjo came and Obasanjo was giving Lagos problems, he stood firm, and we stood by him. When they took him to Code of Conduct Tribunal, we all rose up and said, no, you cannot witch hunt a man because of his political leaning. So I pray that will continue, and that's what democracy is all about.
Looking forward to read the book, right?
Oh, no, I can't wait to read it. I will see Uncle Yemi Ogunbi, who was kind enough to invite me.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, sir.
And good to see you again. Well, that's our show today, everyone. Thanks for being a part of it. You can watch it all over again at midnight and at 6 a.m. tomorrow. I am Nifemi Oguntoye.